Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of WB Mason Presents the Joe Girardi Show. The star of the show is Joe Girardi, the manager of the Yankees, and I'm Michael Kay. Great games down the stretch. Every game means a lot. This is like managing in a playoff game every single day.
You know, it seems like a lot of the teams that get in and make the wild card is kind of what you have to do the last month and a half. And we still have time. We're playing teams that are in our division, and, you know, you can make up a lot of ground, but we got to win a lot of games.
All right, it's easier to win a lot of games when you can score some runs. Obviously, pitching is important, but the Yankees have had reinforcements in their lineup, and one of the trades that you guys made has really paid off, and that's Alfonso Soriano. Did you think he was going to be this good?
No, I think it's hard to imagine. First of all, it's hard to imagine that a guy could have 13 RBIs in 2 days, and you throw that in with everything else that he's done. He has been great for our lineup. I think he's helped Robbie Cano, and he's provided a lot of power. And the other thing is he's stolen important bases for us on the offensive side, and he's also played very good defense.
You know, it's interesting, too, because John Flaherty said this on a broadcast as well. He said there's something to be said when a player goes from a team that's struggling to a player going to a team in a pennant race. Do you sense that he's jacked up for every game?
I do, and there's another thing that I found. Like, when each came over last year, I thought each was among his peers. You know, in Seattle, it was a bunch of kids. The same with Sori, and I think that's difficult because sometimes it's hard to relate and when you only have young kids around you. And now he's around guys like Jeet that he played with, had a great relationship. Guys that have done, you know, have amassed huge numbers like he has. He's got 400 home runs. I think if I play for another 400 years, I'll get there. But I think he's among his peers, and I think he really enjoys it.
Now, you mentioned the relationship with Jeter. It seemed like the two of them are very close now. I didn't realize they were that close then.
Yeah, I mean, when you're around a guy like Sori, he's just great to be around. And I don't know how you couldn't, you know, really find him to be a great teammate. I mean, everything that I heard from Chicago, what a great teammate. You're going to love this guy. He's great in the clubhouse. And he's been all that.
And you know what was startling? When he hit the 400th home run, you take a look at his career numbers. And I'm not saying he's a Hall of Famer, but, boy, he's put together quite a career.
Yeah, and you add the stolen bases, the RBIs, the amount of hits. I mean, I think he has to be considered as a Hall of Famer because, I mean, this was a guy that was a leadoff hitter. So, you know, you put a guy hitting third or fourth, obviously you're going to get more RBIs. But this guy's been a dominant force.
Now, you mentioned also left field. He's actually played very well out there. I thought he was going to be sketchy, but it hasn't been sketchy at all.
No, he has been very good. And, you know, I can look at the catch that he made in Toronto when he sprinted back and sprinted to the spot. I mean, you know, from everything that I heard, that was not the Soriano we were getting, but he has been great.
Another guy who's been great, and you didn't know what you were going to get, is Alex Rodriguez. You run him out there almost every single day. He's played a decent third base. I'm not saying he has great range. He catches everything that's to him. He has a good arm. And, you know, there was some concern, but what kind of power would he have? What kind of hitter would he be? He's been pretty good.
Yeah, he's been productive for us as well, and he's gotten on base, and he's had some big RBIs, and he's played a very good third base. So we're happy with what he's doing. So, you know, we have to watch him, you know, because he's 38 years old, and sometimes the day games after night games are tough, and it become counterproductive, but he's been good.
And it still seems that if teams are very careful pitching to him. So the reputation has followed him, and he does not look like a player that you don't have to worry about.
Well, he's a guy that still hits the ball at the ballpark, and clubs have seen that, and they've done their scouting. I mean, there's nothing that really goes uncovered today. And they know he can still hit the ball at the ballpark.
It's interesting. He had issued pretty much a directive to his people. You know, no more stories, no more leaks, no more answering back. I just wanted to be about baseball. And, you know, people had asked me, well, isn't that good for his teammates? But I don't know if his teammates were bothered that much. I think two people were, him and you. Are you glad that there's no stories?
Well, I think for him, it's got to be easier to concentrate on what he's doing. I mean, they would be 40, 50 people waiting every night after a game, whether he was part of the game or not. And I'm sure that became time-consuming. And when the game's over, you want to go home and have dinner and relax a little bit. So for him, I think it's very good. I never really had to answer a lot of questions about it. So for me, it hasn't really changed my life. But for him, I think it's really good. All
right, let's start from the beginning of the week where the Yankees had lost 2 out of 3 in Tampa on the weekend. Then they go to Toronto, where you really had beaten up on the Blue Jays. How disappointing was it to lose 2 out of 3?
Well, it was tough. You know, we didn't pitch too well, and we didn't swing the bats too well. One game we swung the bats really well, and Sori did. But we lost Robbie Cano for a day, really 2 days, and we lost Nooney for a little bit. And we had to put people everywhere. I put Mark Reynolds at second base a couple times, but it was disappointing. But you got to let that go. And, you know, we come home, we face Baltimore, we win the first 2. You get a brilliant performance out of Ivan Nova on Saturday where he gives you 9 innings. You don't have to use your bullpen after you used them a lot the night before. So we got by it.
All right, now your rock in your rotation has been Kuroda, and he's had 3 bad starts in a row, 3 losses in a row. Is there a concern that maybe he's run into a wall?
Well, I mean, you hope that he can get refreshed and rejuvenated, and sometimes pitchers go through this. I mean, I talked about, you know, one of the best starters in all of baseball, Felix Hernandez, gave up 9 runs the other day in like 3 1/3 innings. It's not something he's used to doing. So they walk a fine line. And sometimes when you're a little bit off, it may not get corrected the next start or the next start, but eventually he'll find it.
You also mentioned in that Toronto series, Cano gets hit by Jay Happ, who certainly has been a thorn in your side. He broke the forearm of Granderson in spring training, and then this. Did you think it was broken?
I did. Whenever a guy gets hit in the hand, you're always really concerned. He got hit right here, so I was really concerned. And every x-ray that we've taken this year has been not good. So Stevie Donahue joked we had to go all the way to Canada to get a good x-ray.
Now, you also got a good x-ray on Nunez, although Nunez fell down without being touched and said he thought he broke his knee.
Yeah, I was concerned. I thought, you know, maybe he tore a ligament in his knee, because when you see guys go down on turf and grab their knee, there's always a huge concern. But fortunately, it wasn't really much. You know, he's probably dealing with a little bit of a bruise, but he'll be back.
You also got Jeter back at the beginning of the Toronto series. What are you seeing from him?
You know, he's playing well. For me, you know, I was concerned about, you know, him going back to back to back, and he had to play 3 days in a row on turf. It didn't seem to bother him. So that's a good sign, and his legs have held up. And, you know, each week that goes by, his legs are going to be in better shape, and you're going to worry less about it.